Ohio State shooting struggles cost them big against UCLA.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a bonus episode of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And during this hardwood huddle, we'll discuss what Ohio State can learn from their loss to UCLA. But first, Ohio State's shooting struggles cost them in a big way against UCLA, where the Bruins beat Ohio State 69-61. It was Bill Walton Day. It was also a day where Mick Cronin won his 500th career game. And while there were massive celebrations on the UCLA side, this was a game that Ohio State was unable to overcome adversity early. It was some of the adversity that they brought on themselves with some of the poor shots they took and also some shooting struggles for the entire 40 minutes of the game. And Ohio State is now at an 8-point loss to UCLA. With there being one more game on this road trip, you would hope that Ohio State doesn't have another shooting performance like they did today on Wednesday when they play USC, because the Buckeyes couldn't hit anything tonight. Some of it was because of UCLA's defense, can't gloss over that. Some of it was because of shooting too many threes. That was a big reason why the Buckeyes really struggled today. But also, they just couldn't hit, man. Like, credit to UCLA. Their length defensively gave Ohio State some issues. Also, that length and some of the size down low caused Ohio State to make some bad shots and to make some bad decisions. Overall, the Buckeyes shot 32% for the game from the field, 22% from downtown, 94% from the free throw line. While that last one's a big one, you made 15 of your 16 free throws. Now, if they would have made 40 free throws, we'd be talking about a different game, but that's not realistic. UCLA didn't shoot that well on their own. They shot 40% from the field and 40% from downtown, and so they had shooting issues as well. The one thing that helped UCLA in this game is that UCLA could attack you from different ways. Ohio State at times, they were getting shots in the paint, and they were being able to drive a little bit, but they weren't able to get a consistent flow of that. And I'm sitting here watching this game and thinking, Ohio State has talent. Yeah, John Mobley Jr. unfortunately is battling with the flu. I didn't think he was going to play in the game via some pre-game reporting via Iron Eagle. And the next thing you know, he's in the game early. Aaron Bradshaw, who's normally a starter for the Buckeyes, he didn't make the West Coast trip because he's under the weather. So a team that's consistently missing key guys to their team, that happened to them once again today. But even with that, I can't let that sit here and say, oh, that's why the Buckeyes shot poorly today. No, I can't do that because that's not even what's true. You can't blame those guys for the Buckeyes shooting poorly. Yes, in their absence, you need to overcome some adversity and make better decisions with the shots you take. That didn't happen. Ohio State, just going down some numbers here for you. Bruce Thornton led all scorers at 21 points on 7 of 17 shooting. The only other Buckeye in double digits was Micah Parrish with 12 points on 12 of 10 shooting. The Bruins had 4 guys in double digits: Mara, Mack, Clark, and then Daly Jr. Mara, the 7'3" giant. I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, you don't normally see a guy that tall on the basketball court. When you do, you expect him to be a difference maker out there, and he definitely was. Even with him being a difference maker, Ohio State settled for too many deep twos and too many three-point shots. Sometimes it was because they were too late getting into their offense to try to move the ball around to get an open shot or create some offense of their own, and so they had to settle for shots. It's unfortunate, but that's what happened. And that's been a problem sometimes for the Buckeyes, but sometimes they're able to make those shots. It's just unfortunate today they weren't able to. A lot of them were short, hitting the front of the rim. And when that happens, you think, let's create offense to get a shot with between 15 to 18 feet on in. But the Buckeyes weren't able to do that. UCLA's defense in their length was so lethal and caused so many issues for Ohio State that all of a sudden when Ohio State was trying to get inside, there was a big man there or there was an arm here, and Ohio State too many times made some poor passes. And the result is an 8-point loss to UCLA on the road. This is the first game of a 2-game road trip out there on the West Coast. The next game is Wednesday night at 10:30 Eastern against USC. The Buckeyes only have 3 more regular season games left. The other 2 is a Tuesday game, Tuesday, March 4th against Nebraska. And then the final regular season game is a game on Saturday, March 8th on the road at Indiana. That's an Indiana team that just beat Purdue. They lost the previous 3 matchups to the Purdue Boilermakers, so they're going to ride high. They're going to try to ride that wave of a win over Purdue all the way to the Big Ten Conference Tournament. And Ohio State right now, you want to solidify yourself as an NCAA tournament team. A few weeks ago, I made a comment right here on this show after it was reported that Mike DeCourcy had Ohio State as a 10 seed in the tournament. And I'm sitting here thinking, I don't see that. The talent is there to be a tournament team. I didn't see a team that played at the rate you needed to play, as consistently as you need to play to make yourself a surefire tournament team. I didn't see it then. We definitely didn't see it today. And if you don't have your legs under you on a Sunday in the first game on the West Coast trip, hopefully you're able to do something between now and then to get your legs under you on Wednesday night. Because if not, it could be your 4th loss in a row. It could be your 5th loss in 6 games. You could eventually, instead of being 15-13 right now, you could be 15-14. And the closer you get to being 500, it's going to be harder and harder for you to make sure you're an NCAA tournament team. The Buckeyes can still make the Big Ten tournament, as not all 18 conference teams will make the Big Ten tournament this year, which I think is a great decision. But Ohio State, stack wins. You got to win out, not just in the regular season. Win out and win a couple games in the Big Ten tournament to make sure you're in the big dance at the end of the season. Because if not, we can be right here talking about if this was a successful first year for Jake Diebler or an unsuccessful first year as he's leading the Buckeyes basketball program. While the Buckeyes lost today, there's one thing I think they can learn from this loss that can help them when they play USC on Wednesday night. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. March basketball is here, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, easy, and keeps every game exciting. This week, I'm looking at Jason Tatum for more than 29 points and Anthony Davis for more than 12 rebounds. I love how I can make my picks in less than 60 seconds and stay engaged all game long. Prize Picks even offers weekly promos like Taco Tuesday, where you get discounted player projections for even more value. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Thank y'all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. No one likes a loss, especially when it's at the end of the season where you're inching closer to 500 and you're trying to make sure you're a tournament team at the end of the day. But one thing you can do when you lose a game is learn from it. Now, there's numerous lessons Ohio State can learn from this loss to UCLA. Take better shots, not settle for so many threes and so many long twos. Make sure you're able to be better defensively and some of the rotations defensively, as I'm out here talking to my wife and getting a little upset by some of the rotations and why is this guy coming over to double? Why not somebody else? They can learn from all of those things. But also, one big lesson I take away from this game that Ohio State can learn is getting into the offense quicker. There was a time in the second half, Bill Raftery made a comment about how slow Ohio State was into getting into the offense. And it wasn't the first time the thought popped into my head, but Bill Raftery, who has watched and called a lot of basketball and coached a lot of basketball, he is able to pick up on it at a rate that sometimes he waits a little bit longer to make a comment about it because he's maybe hoping, hey, don't make me say this right now. Go ahead and just get into your offense quicker. But he made a comment in the second half, and the time of it was almost perfect because Ohio State was trying to come back. The Buckeyes were playing uphill almost all game long. Not only were they trying to overcome their own adversity via the poor shooting and poor decision-making and struggles defensively and not having one of your guys, having somebody else sick, but Ohio State was trying to just come back and try to keep the score, not let the margin get too wide, which they did for most of the game. Most of the time, the margin wasn't too wide where Ohio State could hit a couple baskets and make it a one-possession game. But every time it seemed like they got right there, UCLA, credit to them once again, they started doing a full court press, but they had the point guard checking Bruce Thornton for 94 feet. Now, it wasn't, I'm going to force you to get a backcourt violation, but it was, I'm going to make you get up court slowly to allow you to not get up court and to try to initiate your offense until there's 20 seconds left on the shot clock. Now, the guys that are already on your team that are trying to move around, the other 4 guys on my team, they are making it hard for them to move around too. So all of a sudden, Ohio State's not getting into their offense until there's 15 or 12 seconds left on the shot clock. That's only enough time for one shot. That's not good enough. And if you're going up against these other great teams in the Big Ten that have talent just like Ohio State does, you have to get into your offense quicker. This isn't just an Ohio State thing. This is a basketball thing. In basketball, if you allow the opposition to dictate your own pace and to dictate how quick you get the ball up court and dictate the movement you have on the offensive end, when you know the play that's called, the opposition doesn't, if you allow somebody else to dictate that pace, that's going to be an obstacle you might not be able to overcome. The Buckeyes were plagued by poor shooting against UCLA. They were slow to get into their offense. Decision-making via passing and via some shot selection was poor. Some issues defensively. It resulted in an 8-point loss to UCLA on Bill Walton Day, where also Mick Cronin got to celebrate a big win of his own. Ohio State can learn from this. Wednesday against USC. The other 2 games the following week against Nebraska and Indiana. You got to learn from this. And you got to be able to get into the offense better, take better shots, better rotations defensively. No matter how good UCLA is, Ohio State kept this margin close enough for them to overcome some obstacles. They weren't able to. One way you're able to overcome some obstacles and get a win the next time you're in the court is get into your offense quicker and take better shots. Thank y'all for tapping into Locked On Buckeyes and making this show a part of your day. And make sure you check out Monday's show. Getting back to the football swing of things all Monday through Friday of next week. Got a loaded week of shows coming for you. We might even do a mailbag episode coming up on Friday. We probably will do that weekly. You submit questions, and I will answer the questions you have about your Ohio State Buckeyes. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. That's been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Sunday. We'll see you next time.